Yeah, that's what I'll do. That's literally, Jason, that's what I expected. I thought I'd be a nice person, a good neighbor, but I'd die and get out of the way whenever my number came up.
Wow.
And then one day I heard a guy on the radio with an inspiring little 5-minute message, Earl Nightingale, who was known as the Dean of Personal Motivation. And he was on like 900 radio stations back then, 1972. And he said, if you'll spend 1 hour extra every day studying your chosen field, in 5 years or less, you'll be a leading authority in that field. Well, that rearranged everything. I said, well, hour a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, 5 years, that's 1,250 hours. One subject, even I could do that.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Power Up Project. My name is Jason Tharp. I am the champion of hope, and I am so excited to introduce this young man to you guys. I want to introduce you to Jim Cathcart. Now, Jim is easily probably one of the most genuine humans I have ever met. And you can search his name and you're going to come up with a list. And I tried to condense this down into a small enough thing so I wouldn't be reading the whole time. But I do feel it's important that we kind of cover some of this stuff. So Jim Cathcart is a Hall of Fame speaker, professional speaker with a rich career spanning over 3 decades. His influence on the speaking realm is completely undeniable. He's not just a speaker, he's a mentor to experts and entrepreneurs, helping them refine their skills and excel in their fields. With a collection of over 25 books to his name, Jim shares his wisdom on personal and professional development. His engaging talks have reached audiences far and wide, from the US to Canada to China. This man's been everywhere. But there's more to Jim than just professional accolades. He's an entertainer at heart, expressing his love for music through guitar and song. His adventurous spirit shines through his love for motorcycling and hitting challenging roads. Besides that, Jim also is a fitness enthusiast, embodying the lifestyle of health and vigor. Jim's life is marked by not only professional success and personal passion, but he continues to inspire many others. Make him a true luminary in the motivational speaking landscape. But more than that, I can personally tell you that Jim is a genuine, kind-hearted person, and I am very excited to welcome him to the Power Up Project.
Wow. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Treat for me, and what a wonderful introduction.
Yeah.
Grazie, grazie, mille grazie.
That's right. Well, Jim, I need to tell you a little bit about what our whole point of the Power Up Project is. So what we define a Power Up is the process of turning your attention into your intention. So, and how I like to start this off is kick off with like a general question, which is kind of hard at the same time. Let's play a hypothetical that you have a time machine and you could go back to any point in your life and give yourself a power up. And it could be any point, any wherever you are, and give yourself a power up. What would that power up be and why?
I would go back to me in my late 20s, early 30s, and I would say, keep the faith, but start sending me money. What do you mean? I mean, the 20, 30-year-old me should be setting aside a regular amount and sending it ahead to the 77-year-old me so that there's more funds to operate with. And that was something I learned early on. Didn't do nearly as much of it as I would have done had I thought about it more deeply. But it makes great sense because rich people aren't defined by what they earned. They're defined by what they kept and what they did with it. So if you kept it in a box under a mattress, well, you'd have money, but it wouldn't have grown. If you kept it in some conservative but growth-oriented investments, there's no telling what it could have been because compound effect could lead to millions of dollars over time.
Right. And knowing you, I would imagine that all of that money wouldn't just be spent on crazy stuff. It would also be in making a huge impact as well. And you'd probably have a pretty massive guitar collection too, I would imagine too. So
The current one's not bad, but it's kind of small.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So
Got to do in other locations.
for those that are new to being introduced to who you are, could you kind of take us back a little bit to where you got your start? Like, what was your, I don't want to say rock bottom, but the moment where you realized that, like, I need to change?
Well, I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. My dad was a telephone repairman. Mom was a homemaker. And me and my little sister, my invalid grandfather who had a stroke, and my grandmother. And we lived in a suburb, a little quiet neighborhood, just normal mainstream America. And I walked a few blocks to school and knew all my neighbors, so it was just a typical 1950s and 60s experience as a youth. And then when I was 23 years old, I got married, and we had a new baby the next year. And at age 26, I was working as a government clerk, and I had all kinds of jobs. I'd been a banker, a bartender, a bill collector, a insurance agent. I had sold mutual funds. Lord, just about everything. Played guitar and sang in nightclubs, sold motorcycles, had a paper route, sold donuts door to door. So I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. So here I am grown up. I'm married, got a baby, and working as a government clerk for $525 a month. No college degree, 2 years college. No money in the bank, no connections. Didn't know anybody that had money. Never had known anybody that had money. So I aspired to ordinary, mediocre, mainstream living. I thought, people say, what are you going to do when you grow up? I'll probably get a job in an office somewhere. What'll you do? I don't know. How long are you going to work? When do people retire? 65. Okay, till then. And when do people die? Let's see, 73 and a half years. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That's literally, Jason, that's what I expected. I thought I'd be a nice person, a good neighbor, but I'd die and get out of the way whenever my number came up.
Wow.
And then one day I heard a guy on the radio with an inspiring little 5-minute message, Earl Nightingale, who was known as the Dean of Personal Motivation. And he was on like 900 radio stations back then, 1972. And he said, if you'll spend 1 hour extra every day studying your chosen field, in 5 years or less, you'll be a leading authority in that field. Well, that rearranged everything. I said, well, hour a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, 5 years, that's 1,250 hours. One subject. Even I could do that, no matter what the subject. And the narrower the subject, the faster and farther you would advance. So I chose personal development. Didn't know beans about it. Never read a book about it. Just heard the guy on the radio and said, I want to do what he does. And so I became a fanatical student of personal development. And that was 1972. By 1974, I was full-time trainer and salesperson, selling training materials, motivational recordings, and going door to door to businesses with that, and then doing presentations to teach people how to use the materials. 1 year later, now this is 3 years from hearing the radio broadcast, I was the senior program manager at the national headquarters of the Junior Chamber of Commerce, which had 356,000 members in the U.S. And I was in charge of leadership training. What? Wow. What? How? How's that possible in 3 years? Well, by being fanatical. Because I went to 400 JC's meetings after work and on weekends in 2 years. read every book I could find on personal development, all the classics, and listened to recordings every single day. I was so off the deep end that a lot of my friends drifted away. I was just too intense for them. But I transformed my life. I lost 52 pounds of fat. I got in shape for the first time ever. Improved my marriage, my friendships, my career. Man, I mean, here I am now. You read my laundry list of done that's, and past president of the National Speakers Association, author of 25 books, delivered 3,500 convention speeches all over the world. What? Who knew that was possible for people?
That's amazing. So if somebody comes to you and says, Jim, that's great. That works for you, but I'm different. What would you say to somebody like that? What would be your quick answer for somebody like that?
Well, I'd say, first off, you're wrong, because I didn't come into it with a high IQ or athletic ability or connections or advantages aside from having a loving family and not being destitute. I mean, we didn't have any extra money. So if I wanted money, I'd go mow lawns or do chores for somebody or, deliver things for somebody else. So I didn't have like a silver spoon or some massive mentor that was guiding me through the difficulties of life. I was just an ordinary kid. Well, what if I'm disabled? Disabled from what? From human thought? I mean, how about Stephen Hawking? Well, he's a genius. Okay, yeah. But the only part of his body he could use was his mind. No wonder he developed it so much.
Right.
How about my friend W. Mitchell, who was burned as a young man over most of his body, burned his hands completely off and burned his face off, but he was wearing a motorcycle helmet at the time. And so his hair survived, but they had to do skin grafts for months and months to put him back together. And he rebuilt his life and became the owner of a co-owner of a business of all things selling wood burning stoves. What? And he got so successful, he developed his own pilots. He got his own pilot's license, and he was flying his own plane with adapters for his nubs of hands, and crashed on takeoff and broke his spine and was confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. He's still alive. And this was like in his 40s. And so he went on to become a radio broadcaster, developed his voice, and was elected mayor of Crested Butte, Colorado. Now, this is a guy in a wheelchair, hideously burned, scary to look at at first, with just nubs of hands. And he went on to become the president of the Global Speakers Federation of professional speakers. And he travels worldwide alone to speaking engagements. He lives today in Santa Barbara, California. So tell me what your problems are, right? Well, the mail arrived late and I didn't get my notice in time. Oh, sucks to be you,
right.
Yeah,
I think a lot of times people really are underestimating the power that their mind really has in this and to play in it. So could you take me back to those times where, because I mean, obviously it's easy to kind of reflect back in looking where you're at now and seeing like the roadmap, but while you were going through it, let's say I'm somebody that is a young person that's 26 and starting a family and all this stuff. And now they're going like, boy, like if he could do it, I can do it. What would be some tools that you would say in that process of hitting those first roadblocks? Like what is it to get you through it? What would be the part that you would recommend? Yeah.
First off, if you've got the fears or the doubts, that's up here. That's not out here. That's not a reality problem. It's a perception problem. If you don't think you can, you're not looking broadly enough at the opportunities. You're only noticing the limits. And that's the thing about pessimism. When you get into a pessimistic mindset, all you notice is the obstacles. You don't notice the space between them. You don't think, I wonder where the solution is. You think, look at that, and we can't do it. Right?
Yeah.
So the first thing is to understand that your problem doesn't exist out there. It exists right here. It's your point of view. My point of view was limited and basically pessimistic. I wasn't a defeatist. I didn't believe, oh man, what's the use? I should never try. I just didn't believe there was much waiting for me. And I mean, Jason, when I got married, Paula, my wife, used to pull me to a sitting position in bed in the mornings when it was time to get up. I would go, oh, I'll be there. And she'd go, no, come on, Jim, it's time to get up. And she would pull me to a sitting position. And I'd sit there and, oh, okay, all right. And I'd get up and go get a cup of coffee. Well, good Lord, that problem was 100% me, right? I didn't have physical limitations, although I was out of shape. I had a stupid attitude toward myself and my responsibilities and my opportunities. So item 1 is recognize the problem exists in your thinking. Item 2, commit to retraining your own thinking. I was trained to believe in a world that was small. I knew more was possible. So I got the recordings that were back then on cassette tapes of Earl Nightingale. There were 48 of them. And I bought a library of those on payments because I couldn't afford to pay for it all at once. And listened to them every day, 2-3 times a day. Each was 20 minutes long. And I'd play them over and over and over and over again. And people around me would say, again? And I'd say, yeah. So I played it like you would music, like radio in the background, and just listened to it again and again and again. And what happened was I kept getting great ideas because I'm listening to this guy talk about the wisdom of the ages and tell short motivational stories. And I'm thinking, well, there's a thought, and so I got in the habit of going to breakfast alone every morning at McDonald's. Couldn't afford much. So I went to McDonald's and I'd sit there with my Egg McMuffin and I would think. Now, I didn't go with a stack of work. I went with an empty writing pad. And I would just think, all right, what do I want to work on? All right. And then I'd just start brainstorming. And the ideas, because of all those recordings, would just flow. And then I'm reading all these motivational books, and that's adding even more fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
So number 1, recognize you're the problem. Number 2, don't accept blame or guilt over that. Just retrain your thinking.
Yeah.
And get around people like Jason, get around people like me, around anyone who fuels your belief in yourself. And the people you don't, that run you down or limit you or criticize you, a lot of times you can't disconnect from those people, but you can sure change the percentage of your time they get. So manage that intentionally.
Yeah. I think that, that just, guys, I just really want you to understand what he's saying here, that you have the power to change your outcome. It is by the way that we talk to ourselves, the way we think about ourselves, and the power to be able to set back. And I think you nailed it right on the money. Like, instead of coming with an intention of like, this is what I'm going to do with all of the stuff, a blank piece of paper. I don't know I use the same sort of thing myself, and tell me in your worlds, like, I almost feel like that is almost like you're telling the universe what your intentions are, and you're taking it out of the world of impossible that lives in your world, in your head, into this is possible, because if it's on paper, it's real.
Right.
Is that kind of is that how you look at those type of things as well?
Yeah. Setting goals. The reason setting goals is so different from having dreams is that dreams are just, fantasies, ether, that it's out in the air. It's nothing going on with dreams. You can dream all day long. Nothing changes. But you write it down. You say, I want to be blah, 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 blah. I want to be, president of the musicians union. I don't know, pull something out of the air. And you've never played an instrument and you don't know anybody in the music world. Okay. What is the musicians union? I don't know. So you look it up. Oh, that was because you were doing. No, that's not what I want. I want to be the president of the Grammy organization. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. So you say, I want to do that. And then you go back and you get better at goal setting. I will do that. Not I want to. I will. Oh, when? By the time I'm X, 40 years old or 30, or whatever you want to put. Okay. And what's that going to look like? And you start drawing out a description as you understand it, not knowing much about it. And that becomes the kind of the guide that pulls you forward, right? But when you put it in writing, then all of a sudden it's tangible. All of a sudden your mind starts treating it as something serious. People say, it's not that big a deal. That's just symbolism. No, it's not. I can guarantee you from my experience and thousands of others I've seen and learned from, it is absolutely profoundly important to put it in writing. And when you do that, then it's kind of like when you buy a new blue Chevrolet, all of a sudden that week, you noticed 100 blue Chevrolets you never saw before. They were always there. You just didn't notice them. That's called selective perception. So you go to let's say, a concert or a football game, sit in the stands and look at all the people out there, no matter what the team colors are, and choose a color, red, and just look at the sea of people and notice, boom, it just pops out at you. Wow, that's a lot of red. Black. No kidding. White. Amazing. Your eyes aren't changing. Your filters are.
Right.
And the same thing's true on, seeing the cars. When you write the goal down, you start seeing opportunities to make it a reality. See, I believe that the universe is filled with unconceivably immense potential, and that anything that's dreamable is possible somehow. Well, not for me. Yeah, okay, we'll get to that later. Yes, it is, but this isn't therapy yet. Okay, so it's possible. Now, how does it become reality? Well, somebody has to think it up and then write it down. Take, for example, Taylor Swift. Her Eras tour, the movie that just came out, cost her about $20 million to make. When she announced online that the tickets were available, in the first 3 hours before the movie came out, just tickets available for advance purchase. The first 3 hours, 38 million in sales.
Wow.
38 million in sales in 3 hours. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
How's that possible?
Right.
We say, well, it's obvious because she's cute. No. Smart. No. She is both of those things. Good songwriter. Yeah, but that's not it either. Good performer. Great performer. Yeah, but there are other great performers that aren't as big as her. She loves her audience. There are others that love their audience, aren't as big as her. So how come Taylor's getting all the marbles and other kids are going home with nothing to play with? Because someone in Taylor's inner circle said, we're going to do it all.
Right.
We're going to do it better than it's ever been done. We're going to be the best in the world. And they committed to that as a group. And the power of that group, they went out and they found every solution they needed. And her career just took off and kept growing and growing. And she may end up being one of the greatest musicians of all time.
Right.
Of all time. Another Paul McCartney or Elvis Presley or whatever. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of, and even looking at your Acorn behind you, I wanted to also point out to everybody that you have an amazing online course that we'll make sure that the links are in the show notes and stuff about acorns to oaks. And, having been somebody that was able to watch it, I will say that it is, I believe it's 14 episodes. Is that right?
I think it's 16.
16.
It's 4 hours total time.
Yeah, 4 hours
Each
total
one's
time. Yeah.
14, 20 minutes maybe.
But it kind of reminds me, and I wonder, is it same sort of thing like you, cassette tapes? It'd be funny how many people, like young people, Google it is what I always like say when it's something that's like, something old like that. Yeah. But the idea that like, it's the same sort of idea. So you breaks out the that's a cassette tape right there. Back in the old days, you put the pencil, and that's how you would fix them. But yes.
Yeah, you put a pencil in there and rewind it.
But what I appreciate about what Jim does, and as you guys start to look into the things, and I highly encourage you to check out the Acorns web series. The link will be in as the notes. Is that it's all about breaking it up into small, digestible points. And I think that one of the things that I have found when people ask for some sort of guidance or whatever, it's getting a team together around you, people that believe in what you want to do. But one of the key things that
might be at first one other person.
One other, right? You don't have to have a team. A team is just more than one, right?
Listening to someone on a podcast.
Yes.
It's close enough.
It's close enough, right? But it is like you just need somebody to kind of show you it's available out there, and then getting somebody to encourage you. But then I think the other chunk is that like what you're saying as well is that you don't have to do it all in 5 minutes. It takes,
and you could.
Right. And it takes time. So through your process, like when did you realize that you had a hold of something that was like, okay, it's time to hook this thing and ride? And what did that feel like for you? If you were to just sum that up in like a quick little movie trailer, like what did that moment feel like? And what was it? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember vividly hearing the radio broadcast, the little 5-minute message, spend an extra hour a day studying your field. I was sitting at my desk as a clerk, bored. In the next room, the radio's playing. I heard that message and I thought, that actually works mathematically, the 1,250 hours thing. And then I thought, I'm a government clerk. I've got 8 hours a day. I could do this all day long, get away with it, because I really wasn't busy. I was an assistant to a man who didn't need help, and he seldom called on me. But I realized early that all of this was really different from the life I had been living, the way I'd been thinking, the way the people around me talked. And so I started just gravitating toward anyone that seemed to really have their act together in that way. And my circle of friends changed. Some of them drifted away. We were still friends that didn't get together anymore. Others, they said, oh, you do that too? Hey, have you read this? Hey, let's talk about that. What do you do? Show me your way. And so that just added to it. And joining the JCs, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, that used to be a really big outfit, third of a million people. Today, it's a much smaller organization because the market it was serving was the baby boom, and we outgrew them and went on to other organizations. But the purpose is still there. So people today, instead of going to a JC's meeting to learn leadership skills, they tune into a podcast. They go on YouTube. They do an online search. They hang out in a local networking group for their business or whatever. And today, man, everything's available. Everything. When I was starting, you had to go to the library and check out a book, and take a little library card out of it and leave it with the clerk, and then you had to bring the thing back. Well, today, no matter where you're starting, if you've got access to the internet, you've got access to the wisdom of the ages.
Right.
Pick a lane.
What do you think that you tell people that say, "Oh, okay, great, that was the '70s. Now we're 2023. How does it work nowadays?"
That's easy.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is. That's super, super easy. I say, what do you want?
Mm,
I don't know. Well, then that's where you'll stay until you decide.
mm,
It's kind of like standing in line at the fast food restaurant, and you're looking at the menu, and you're next. What do you want? I don't know yet. Then get out of the way. Others know. Okay, so that everything in the world starts, your world starts with, what do you want? Well, I just want to be liked. Okay, then be nice to people. Yeah, but you didn't state a big enough want.
mm.
Okay, what do you want? I want to be happy and healthy and have plenty of money. So does every living being on earth. That's not unique. What represents happy? Um, I don't know. Freedom. Okay, good. All right. What else? What's healthy? Does it mean just not being sick? Well, no. I want to be, really healthy. Fit? Yeah. You want to run a marathon? No, half marathon. Okay. Write it down. Have you ever gone running? No. Do you have any running shoes? No. Then run on soft surfaces.
Mm.
You, you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
It's like when I started playing guitar in college, my roommate, Danny Clanton, Conway, Arkansas, he had a guitar. And I said, I'd like to learn to play guitar. And he said, well, let me show you something. So he showed me how to put my fingers on the fretboard and how to make a sound. And I made an awkward sound. He said, oh, no, change it this way. Okay, now do it. Oh, that's better. And then if you move that finger right there, can you hold it there? No. Okay, try this chord. Do that. Now make a sound. Whoa. Well, now I've got the potential to do like 50 different songs, just those two sounds. And so he taught me getting started. So I bought a guitar for $1.
Wow.
$1. The strings were this far off the neck, so your hands would bleed after playing it for 5 minutes. And the back of it had a big split in the middle, so it was broken, basically. Well, later I bought a $60 guitar, and I practiced, and I got good enough that I could play some of the current songs. I'd get the lyrics and chords, and I would learn to play awkwardly whatever was popular on the radio. And so when we'd get together with friends for a party, I'd get that, and they'd say, hey, let's sing this, and we'd all sing. So it was fine.
Right.
But that's no progress. Now, this was 1964, 5, 6, 7, 8, around in there. By 1968, I was playing and singing in clubs, and I was going to the music store 2 or 3 times a week to find sheet music for the songs that I wanted, and songbooks. These are all songbooks over here.
Wow.
And so I would have to go and buy one of these big old puppies and learn to play sitting at home doing that. Well, what would you do today? Well, today you just go online and click into learning guitar, like YouTube, something free at first, and you borrow somebody's guitar, or you get some kind of a contraption that allows you to practice it, and you watch it done, then you do it, then you hear it back, and you keep doing that, and then you plug into a little community of people that are also doing that, and they say, hey, Jason, you're saying you're having trouble with bar chords? Try this. Move your, and you're getting better at that. So then you say, well, yeah, but I want a career in music. Then my advice, get a job in the music business. Yeah, right. I don't have any experience. Do music studios need janitors? Yeah, be one. Why? Because you're around the music people. You learn how they think, how they speak. You learn what things are and what they mean and how to use them.
Right.
Go to a club, be the guy that's in charge of the sound system.
Right. Yeah.
Just get around it.
Yeah.
And the doors start opening.
Yeah. I think that what people are missing is the understanding that the key to kind of getting where you want to go is that somebody's already doing it. And what is
Not just
available?
somebody.
Yes, lots.
Lots of
Yes.
people are already doing it.
And a lot of the excuses that we make up in trying to do it is that we put our self-imposed limits on what we're capable of doing instead of looking at all the landscape of people that are doing the stuff out there that we could do.
Quick thought. Much of the doubt comes from what other people told us about us. Well, if you're going to base what you think about yourself, what you believe about yourself on input from other people, at least choose the other people well. Well, you know, my mom and dad said, my teacher said, no, excuse me, maybe your mom and dad aren't that enlightened. Maybe the uncle that told you that you'll never amount to anything has his own personal problems. And it had nothing to do with him. He was just, I mean, with you, it had to do with him just looking for somebody to harm, right? Or maybe the people you've been relying on have been experts at the entry level. You know, like my teacher told me I'd never be good at such and such. What does he or she know?
Right.
I mean, is this one of the world's leading experts on that? Or is this a certified psychologist who's got experience helping people succeed, and you just happen to be the one bad apple in the barrel that came along? No.
Right.
We listen to the wrong people. Also, we listen to ourselves. We make decisions at age 18, 25, 35, whatever, even at age 6. We make decisions about ourselves and our life and never revise the decision. Well, why should you listen to that young idiot? Listen to the more enlightened you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is one of the key starting points that is addressing your fears. Like one of the things that I spend a lot of time telling people, and I have beat it down on this podcast, is that the version of you that you're looking to see is hidden behind all the stuff you're trying to avoid. And it took a lot for me to learn that. And, you know, and I'm sure that you have run across that in some form or another so many times with audiences that you've spoke to. Like if you do have somebody that is that, what would be like that mantra type of thing that somebody could say that, like, you could be like, okay, that guy said that, and I can use that as my go-to, because that's one of my missions of this podcast, is to get people to understand that, like, they are their problem. Like,
lots of philosophers out there that I've learned from. You know, the classic philosophers over time, and then the more current philosophers like Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. And the basic idea of that book is whatever you envision in detail with emotion on a daily basis tends to come into reality. And that's a paraphrase of my friend John Mitchell, who has read that book at least 20 times and is a serious student of it. W. Clement Stone was partners with Napoleon Hill and was Napoleon Hill's personal manager. By the way, Think and Grow Rich is the most successful, the greatest success book of all time. It has like 100 million readers. Closest thing to it has 10 million. So big time successful book. And that was Napoleon Hill. Well, Napoleon Hill passed away, I think, in the 1980s. And W. Clement Stone was his partner and collaborator. And I worked with W. Clement Stone.
wow.
W. Clement Stone in the 1970s was the Bill Gates of his day, the richest man in America, or Elon Musk, or whoever Jeff Bezos, you know, whoever
Right.
that person is. It was W. Clement Stone. And I had a chance to serve on committees with him, collaborate with him, work with him. His classic advice was, do it now. He was the proponent, the champion of positive mental attitude, PMA, he called it. And he wrote a book called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And the do it now mantra that he had anything that appeared as a task for him, he would immediately, if he could, drop everything and do that. And it became a life habit that he was always geared toward. Whatever pops up, do it now. And then you don't have to deal with it again. Well, that doesn't mean you can't concentrate on something with no distractions until it's done. It just means when you get to a stopping point where you've got the option to choose, if something's waiting for you, do it now. Like in my home, I have no to-dos, no honey-do list. A honey-do list is where the spouse says, hey, would you do this? Would you fix that? Would you rearrange this? Would you take such and such to the store and get it renewed? I don't have that. So if Paula comes into my office sometimes during the day and says, hey, the bulb burned out in the bathroom, I'll run in there and change the bulb. And she, well, you don't have to do it now. I know. But do it now is a great habit. Zig Ziglar, famous motivational speaker, was a very good friend of mine. He passed away maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And he's known best for the following. You can get everything you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. What a way to look at sales.
Yeah.
Not about convincing people to buy. It's about helping people get what they want.
Right.
Showing them a way to do it. If you can't help this guy, don't sell to him. Go to that guy.
Yeah.
Right. And Earl Nightingale, you become what you think about, which kind of goes along with the Think and Grow Rich idea. And I altered that a little bit. You don't become what you think about, or I'd be some pretty amazing things. You tend to become the kind of person that is compatible with what you think about most. And the way you think about you tends to perpetuate you, right? So the mantra, I'd have a whole bunch of different mantras, but mine is become the kind of person who would have the kind of life you want to live. And the life you want to live will come along as automatic byproduct. So what does that mean? It means develop the thinking, develop the personality traits, develop the personal habits of the kind of person that others would want as a neighbor, as a partner, as an employee, as a coworker, as a boss, as a friend, as a spouse.
Right. Yeah. Well, Jim, I want to be respectful of your time, but I do want to just.
I could do this all day with you.
Well, me too. I could as well. And I think the big thing that I want to just really echo back on everything you just said. I know you and I have had conversations about the guru market nowadays. And I just want everybody to understand the nuggets that were just dropped throughout that whole conversation are things that people are paying for these huge courses for somebody to tell you
$10,000, $20,000. Yeah.
And it really, do you need to be surrounded by those people to feel good about yourself? Go see therapy. It really is about like learning how to talk better to yourself, looking for hope in yourself, challenging yourself. And, like I said, I will link all of Jim's stuff in there. I highly, highly recommend everybody check out the Acorn series. I think once I watched it, I messaged you and I told you, like, not only is it filmed amazing, but like the content is unreal. Like it was just like, oh my God, like this stuff is so applicable but it's done in a way that is so easy to understand. And so
I did it as personal coaching instead of creating a course or something.
So I would recommend it to somebody that's got a high school kid that wants,
easiest entry point I've got.
Absolutely.
Acorns to oak trees.
Yeah. And if you have a coworker, you have a kid that's playing high school sports that wants to play in college, like it is geared towards all of that. So I highly recommend everybody check that out. Like we dropped some huge value here. Jim dropped some crazy nuggets. So make sure that you're sharing this episode with people that need to see it. My personal mission is to provide hope. Jim's mission is inspiration. And like I said, he is the most genuine human like that I've come across where, when I met you, you didn't try to sell me a single thing. Like, it was just like, this is who I am. And so I appreciate that. I think the world's a better place because you're in it, and I appreciate getting to share some space with you. So, like I said, everything will be linked in there, guys. And, but yeah, Jim, just thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else I missed that you want the world to know about you?
No, because I'm not the important thing. They are.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When you're a speaker or a salesperson or whatever, a leader, it's not about you. And as a matter of fact, if you want to be nervous about public speaking, think about yourself. If you don't want to be nervous, think about your audience.
Right.
Think about what they need to learn or hear or know or understand about what you're going to do. Even if you're performing, don't worry about whether your performance is perfect. Worry about whether your audience is going to enjoy it.
Right.
Focus on them and ways to engage and interact with them. Take your nervousness away. Self-doubt. Just remember, the person who's doubting you doesn't know enough yet. The person who's doubting you, the current you, is only partially educated, only partially experienced, and doesn't really have the wisdom yet to give you that kind of advice.
Right.
So
you nailed it. I mean, that's what a great way to wrap that up, man. But Jim, thank you so much. Look forward to having many, many more conversations with you. And guys, like I said, like and share this, let everybody know what's going on. And we really hope that you got a power app out of this. Thank you so much, Jim. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Foxland Media. Think big.